Hello my fall enthusiasts. If you're a subscriber, you already know that I'm Maddie and this is the AFI Project Lab. So in today's how-to, I have a fun and easy way to transform an otherwise simple candle into an autumn treat. The candles I'll be showing you to make today are scented with our version of Vanilla Pumpkin Marshmallow by Bath & Body Works. It has notes of pumpkin, vanilla, and marshmallows, making it the perfect scent for the season. So keep watching out to find out how to make these candles a little bit more special. So you might recognize these pumpkin molds here from our lotion bar video. They're really versatile and I've used them for tons of other projects before, so I figured why not use these for some candles. So I got these on Amazon, but there's tons of different pumpkin shade molds out there that would work for these candles. Just make sure you pick some molds that will fit into whatever candle containers you're using. So just like this. So as you can see here, my vessels of choice are these cute little 8-ounce tins. They're the perfect size and they have that cute little rustic look. So after doing a quick check, like I just did, it looks like we can go ahead and get started making these pumpkin candles. Okay, so before I even wick my tins, I'm going to go ahead and make wax for these pumpkins. So for that, I'm going to melt down 3 ounces of my wax in a double boiler. So this is a Pro Blend 600 Parasoy wax. It's a nice blend for container candles that always has given me a great cold and hot throw. So using a double boiler, we're going to go ahead and melt this down nice and quickly. And make sure to keep an eye on the temperature as it's melting. And then we can toss in some orange candle dye. But we'll get to that in just a second. Alright, this is melting down beautifully and we can go ahead and add in some orange candle dye. So I'm going to be using some dye here. It's just from a solid dye chip from the Flaming Candle, and then I think it's the perfect color. Like, I'm so excited. And believe it or not, it's called pumpkin orange. How fitting, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and dump this in and stir it to melt with our wax. Alright, so once your wax is fully liquefied, we need to check how hot it is. 185 degrees Fahrenheit is generally a good temperature to add fragrance in, but you need to be sure to check what temperature is best for you. Alright, I'm at 183.5 and that means we are right where we need to be. So I'm going to go ahead and add in our fragrance, which is of course my favorite part. So in my personal opinion, I think this scent is super yummy. If I could eat it, I would, but I don't advise that. So I'll be scenting my wax at around 10%, so my pumpkin will get about 0.3 ounces of fragrance oil. Alright, now that we have that added in, we're just going to make sure we stir for at least a minute or two just to really make sure everything is nice and blended in. Alrighty, now that we're finished stirring everything together, I'm double checking on my temperature and we are at around 160 degrees, which is what you guys want when you go ahead and pour it into your molds. Alright, so while this is cooling, I'm going to go ahead and wick my tins. So, using a wick sticker or some hot glue, press a pre-tapped wick into your container. As you can see here, I have my little sticker. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off the first layer, attach it to the bottom of our wick, and then of course we're going to stick it into our tin, making sure it's nice and centered. So for this candle, we are using a 6-inch Eco 8 wick, which works great with this wax type and candle size. But remember, a wick should be big enough to give you a full burn pull, but not so big that the candle will have a too large of a flame. Alright, just to make sure that this stays nice and center, I have my little bow tie tap here, and we're just going to slide it on over, just to make sure our candle stays nice and straight up when we pour in our next step. So for this next step, I'm going to melt down a little bit more wax, so I'll only need about 1 ounce for that, just enough, just to make a little platform for our pumpkin. So I went ahead and added more wax into here, and of course we're going to pop it right back into our double boiler. And of course we'll basically be repeating what we just did with our orange wax, except this time we're not going to add any colorant to it. And we already have our wax nice and melted down, so we're going to go ahead and remove it from our double boiler and check our temperature so we can add in our fragrance. Alright, we are at 185 degrees, which is spot on perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and grab our fragrance here again, and we're just going to add in 0.1 ounce of fragrance and stir it in just for about a good minute or two, just to make sure everything is nice and incorporated. Alright, so now that this is all nice and well mixed together, we're going to go ahead and pour in just a small layer to give our pumpkin that little bit of platform. So we're going to go ahead and pour it in here. Alrighty, so while we are letting this part of our candle cool, we're going to go ahead and move back over to our pumpkin molds. So if it's fully hardened and not warm anymore, go ahead and carefully take it out of the mold. You guys, I quite literally can't get over how cute these tiny little pumpkins are. They smell so good. So let's go ahead and move on. I have a toothpick here and we're just going to make a hole for the wick. So we're just going to drive it right down the middle of our pumpkin. Push it all the way through. So when your first layer of the wax that you poured earlier in this container is solid, we can go ahead and lower the pumpkin down into the candle, just making sure to feed the wick through the hole that you just made. Alright, so all we have left to do now is melt and pour the rest of my wax to finish off this candle. I really wanted to make it look like my pumpkin is really nestled in there. So you want to make this last pour at a slightly cooler temperature. So I'm pouring it at about 140 degrees so I don't melt the pumpkin. But before we get there, let's go ahead and melt this wax. Alright, this part of our wax is nice and fully melted, so again, we're going to remove from our double boiler. Make sure it's cool to about 185 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we'll pour in the rest of our fragrance. So before we go ahead and pour, make sure to wait just a little bit longer and check it that it's at 140 degrees Fahrenheit before you pour. Alrighty, we are at 140 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what we wanted, so we're going to go ahead and pour it in around our beautiful little pumpkin, and we're almost done. So we want to make sure that we're carefully pouring the wax alongside of the container so it fills in the space between the pumpkin embed and the container. Alright, so you guys can stop here if you want and have a cute little pumpkin patch candle, but if you want to really, spice it up a little bit more, you can use whatever wax you have left over and add some green candle dye to it, whip it, and then we can make little vines on the top. So I'll show you guys how to do that real quick. So of course I have some leftover wax here, and I'm just going to add 1 drop of green dye. Believe me, a little bit goes a long way. All right, now that that's nice and mixed together, I'm going to go ahead and pour into this container here. All right, and I'm just going to grab my whisk right here and I'm just going to whip it just a few times. All right, now that we have this all nice and mixed together in a good pipeable mixture, I'm just gonna go ahead and pop it into here, snip a little part at the end, and we'll make our little vine. And of course, remember your last step. For any candle making, you want to make sure you trim your wick. So make sure when you're trimming it, you're going at 1/4 of an inch. All right, and there you have it. This is a really easy way to make fall candles with just a couple of extra steps needed to make it stand out. To price each candle, take into account how much wax and fragrance you used, as well as the time that it takes to make them. I'd price each 8-ounce candle for about $4 to $8 wholesale and retail for $10 to $16. As you can see here, here's a label that I made for mine, and you can find this template to make your own labels linked in the description box down below. Well guys, thanks so much for joining me all the way up until the end of this video. And if you made it this far, drop a little pumpkin emoji down in the comments down below and let me know what you'd like to see me make next here. So help support our channel by subscribing and liking this video, and I'll have more product ideas coming your way in no time. Well, I can't wait to see you guys in the next video real soon. I'm Maddie, and bye for now.